Welcome. This is the first of a series of videos intended to guide you through the creation of a simple role-playing game. I'm going to be using Python 3, but if you haven't coded in Python yet, that's not a problem. I'll post and explain all my code, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment on the video and I'll reply. Over the next few videos, I am going to go through the construction of a very simple role-playing game. My goal is to create a bare bones RPG. My intention is to give you a program you can develop into a more complex game of your own. And if you do, please tell me about it. Okay, so first of all, installing Python. I'm using Python 3, 3.7 to be precise, but as long as you're using Python 3 or above, you should be able to follow along. To be safe though, if you're using 3.5 or below, you might want to think about upgrading to 3.7. If you haven't yet installed Python, I recommend installing Anaconda. It's free and easy. Anaconda will also make installing new libraries for Python much simpler. Although you could write programs using a text editor, and every operating system gives coders a way of creating a text file, I recommend using an integrated development environment, or IDE. There are a lot of choices. This topic could be a series of videos all in itself, but I will recommend the two that I use regularly. First, PyCharm. On the plus side, it does everything that I need. On the con side, the learning curve can be a bit steep in the beginning. Atom. On the pro side, whenever I want to quickly edit a Python file, I use Atom. It formats Python files nicely with different colored text for different functionality and so on. On the con side, I don't think Atom has a debugger. The larger your project is, the more difficult it will be to manage in Atom. But Atom is a wonderful program for smaller projects or small, quick edits. I use it all the time. Please keep in mind that this is my view of these programs. If you don't have a favorite Python editor, I would encourage you to download both programs and play with them. Write small, fun programs using both. Make up your own mind. Installing Pygame. As for a graphics library, there are a lot of options, but I've chosen Pygame. The installation is very easy. You can see the code on the screen, but I've also included a link to this page below in the description of the video. Hello World. It's traditional to write the simplest possible program, a Hello World program, to make sure we have Pygame installed correctly and that everything is working as it should. That's what I've done here. This code opens up a window and paints it red. Classes. As you can see, I'm using classes. If you're new to programming and are unfamiliar with classes, don't worry. I'll provide all the code on my GitHub account. The link is in the description below and explain everything. Also, if you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will get back to you. I'm using classes because once the program becomes more complex, we're going to add in walls, grass, a player, buildings, and so on. It will make it easier to keep the code organized. It will make it easier to visualize the flow of execution. At least it's easier for me. So let's get started with our game class. As you can see, I've imported the Pygame and sys libraries. The sys library will, at this point, only be used to end the program. It's a very simple program. It's up to you how many tiles you want for your first level. I'll be using a 16 by 16 grid because I want to keep things simple. I'll talk more about this in the next video, but when the player enters the world, they're going to be in a very small town. Again, my focus is on making a bare bones RPG. You can use the code I put up to make something more complex. This makes it easy to both change the size of the tiles as well as the number. I think for the next video I will read the number of tiles from the tile map. Don't worry if you don't know what a map file is, I'll talk about it in the next video. So Right now, for this minimal program, we only have one class, Game. Later we'll be adding a class for the player, for walls, for environmental features, and so on. Let's go through this. Pygame init, that's straightforward. If you don't initialize Pygame before you try to use the library, an error will be raised and Python will stop executing your program. I made the caption My World because I like keeping it simple, but if you want to use something more creative, please do. Then we need to set up a surface that we will use to display our colors and shapes on. We're not going to create any shapes on our drawing surface in this video. In the next one, we will populate our game world with grass and walls and so on. For now, we'll just color our display red. I like to pick a distinct color because it will help us see later the transparent areas of the sprites we will be using. We're almost done. We've initialized Pygame and set up the bare essentials. Now all we have to do is write a simple, rudimentary event handler. Here it is. You can call it whatever you want. I went with handle events because it was simple and descriptive. You could have named the function the Iron Throne or whatever, but it's a good idea to keep function names as well as identifier names as descriptive as possible. That way, you often don't need to explicitly document the function, which is awesome. Though I do suggest that you document all your classes and functions in the final version of your program. Otherwise, if you're anything like me, when you come back to the code in a few months, it will be much easier to pick up where you left off. Also, if another programmer joins your team, they can get up to speed more quickly. In any case, this handle events function is straightforward. We're grabbing keyboard input and analyzing it based on the keys pressed or the windows closed. In the next video, we will implement code for the up, down, right, and left keys. For now, we are just handling the events for escape key and for closing the window. Okay, almost done. Now we set up a calling function, which I've called setup. Since our program is so simple, one line is enough to initialize the game. Next, we have the stripped down game loop. We first handle any event sent to the program, key presses, or the window closing, and then we update the graphics. In the next video, we will create sprites and blit them to the screen, so our game loop will be more complicated. See you in the next video.